I also want to address another point that's just been raised by Julia Gillard and her government in saying that they want to pay $6,000 to $3,000 for people to relocate to go to employment places and where they can get jobs. And it seems to me that if, they haven't said that if you don't take up these jobs and volunteer to move, even though we're going to give you $6,000 to move if you're moving a long distance out of the rural areas or somewhere, or $3,000 within a metropolitan area to move to other locations. They're not telling the people that if you don't go, they're not going to give you the dole. They're going to cut you off on the dole, or they're going to quarantine you, or something like that. There's a downside to everything. If you're going to give something, someone something, then you can always bet your bottom dollar it's not for free. There's a price to be paid at the end of that. And Julia Gillard and Jenny Macklin have not said what that penalty is going to be if you don't take up that offer to go $6,000 to move away from your hometown to somewhere else. Now, with that being the case, I like to come back to this whole thing of the Northern Territory intervention. They're telling people that they have to move out of their rural and remote areas, from their homelands, and move into these hub townships to get jobs and get education. If that's the case, I wonder if that $6,000 is going to apply to them, that $3,000 is going to apply to the Aboriginal people who they're forcing out of their communities where they've got welfare quarantining happening. The other downside that's going to occur here is that they're not looking at those small businesses that depend on those welfare checks. Yeah, they will close down all those small businesses in a lot of rural and remote communities, which will mean that the farmers will be impacted as well. All those primary producers out there are going to be impacted if you're moving the workforce out of those and relocating them out of those locations. So the small businesses will shut down. So what you're going to have is you're going to create a system in rural and remote Australia which will become ghost towns. They'll have to go a long way to get their fuel. They'll have to go a long way to get their food supplies. If these small towns will shut down, and they will shut down as a result of this initiative. What they should be doing is building and importing money into building rural strengths and building infrastructural programs that will build those communities as opposed to taking the people out of them. There's going to be a significant impact on Aboriginal people if this is the case. I think Aboriginal people, for the main, will not remove themselves from their community, no matter how much they offer the incentive. We had this experience in the 1970s when they had the family resettlement programs occurring, where they sent them to Bathurst, Orange, Dubbo, Wagga, Newcastle and all those places under a family resettlement scheme. And those programs failed simply because the first people who lost their jobs during the mid-70s, late 70s, were the Aboriginal people who went down there because they were the semi-skilled, unskilled people, and they were the first ones to lose their job. As a consequence of them losing their job, we had total family breakdown and chaos because the women either went home and left the men in the house, or the men left the house and went home. This ill attempt or fateful attempt at trying to social engineer our communities. It's the worst type of planning, social planning you can ever get, and I think they're heading for they're creating disaster here.